G'day guys, this is Tia and welcome back to another Fallout 76 video. In this one we are going to be taking a look at something that I'm sure has been confusing a lot of new players and probably some players that have been with us for many years now. I'm of course going to be talking about the trading community and the abbreviations they have typically come to use to simplify trades within their circles. These abbreviations are almost solely used for weapons and armor legendary effects to quickly and clearly let other players know exactly what first, second and third star effects the items have. Now if you've ever tried to make or interact with another person's trading post on Reddit, Discord or Facebook, then you've probably come across a bunch of these abbreviations, including letters and numbers with no context or explanation. Yet somehow everyone is on the same page and knows exactly what the post means. These can include things like B2525, Q50c15r, or maybe OEAPSent AP. Stuff like that. Well, if you have no idea what the hell I just said, strap in and watch the whole video. I'm going to be basically handing you a dictionary on the most commonly used abbreviations for the legendary effects, as well as a few alternative options that are less commonly used so that you can become a part of the conversation and start trading your gear without fear. Let's jump into it, guys. Firstly, shout out to Blobby, Market76 and the Fallout Network. In this video, I'll be cross-referencing lists by Blobby and these two communities just to confirm that I have all the up-to-date abbreviations for you guys. So yeah, shout out to Blobby, the Fallout Network and Market76 for the information. In the background footage I will be primarily showing a list that was actually made by Blobby, so thank you so much, you're an absolute legend. However, like I said, I'm going to be cross-referencing with a few other lists that I have at my disposal, just in case I miss any abbreviations. Alright, and with that out of the way, these are the officially unofficial abbreviations that have been universally agreed upon by the community that I'll be showcasing for all of you guys. And if you want to read along, or maybe you don't want to hear me speak like an idiot, then I'll have both of the links to my lists down below so you can read it at yourself at your own pace, instead of hearing me explain them. So let's get right into it. Alright, and here we are over on the Fallout Network's legendary abbreviations list. Feel free to read that and join the Discord if you'd like to. Let's get started with all of the effects that go on the ranged weapons. Firstly, the primary effects. Anti-armor, everyone knows that's always just AA. Anti-armor, AA. Makes sense. Very easy to get your point across there for the first star. Aristocrats, almost 9 times out of 10, it is ARI. Very simple. Aristocrats, ARI. Assassins, it's ARS. So that makes perfect sense right there. Assassins, ARS. Sometimes it's used as A, but most of the time you'll see it written as ARS. Berserkers, this one will be most of the time written as BER, however BR is just as common. Another variation that isn't written here is BS, sometimes people write BS. So yeah, Berserkers could be written as BER, BR, or BS. Bloodied, that's just always written as the letter B. B means bloodied. Common, easy, quick and easy, just write B for that. Double no longer exists, so we will ignore that, but that used to be written as D. Executioners deal 50% more damage while they are below 40% health. It is always written as EXE, however, other people have written EX in the past, but EXE is definitely the most common one. Exterminators, this is also always written as EXT, just to easily differentiate it. 50% more damage against bugs, it's not very common, so you won't be seeing this one very often at all. However, that's how it's written. Another abbreviation from some other lists I'm looking at does write this as ET. So exterminators, you can either write EXT or ET. Furious, this is just always written as F. There's no other variations that exist in a popular enough variety for it to be written anywhere. So just write F for that. Ghoulslayers, this is pretty much always written as GS. However, I have seen people write it as just the letter G in the past, but that does conflict with Gormons, so most of the time it's just Ghoulslayers, GS, that makes perfect sense. Ghoulslayer, GS. Gormons, this is almost always written as GOUR, however G is pretty common for that as well. GOUR or G for Gormons. Gormons is not very popular at all, so I don't see it getting traded very often at all, so probably won't have to worry about that too much. Hunters, this is always written as just H, so Hunters, H. Not popular enough to matter, but that's what it is. Instigating, it's always just written as I. Very rarely you will see people write INST, but just write I. There's nothing else that starts with I for the prefix, so can stand on its own 2 legs there and just be a letter. I for instigating. Juggernauts, this is pretty much always written as J-U-G for jug. Makes perfect sense there, just write jug. Junkies, it is always written as just the letter J. Junkies was out first and then they added the Juggernauts effect later on, so Junkies has just always been J. Medics is always written as Med, M-E-D. Perfectly describes it, nice, quick and easy, only 3 letters, perfect. Mutant Slayers deal 50% more damage to mutants. This is not very common at all, but it is always written as MS. No other way to really describe it. Just write MS if you are talking about Mutant Slayers. However, when it comes to mutants, deal 5% more damage for each mutation. Mostly people just write M, however MU does exist as a possible abbreviation. So yeah, M or MU for mutants. Now, Nocturnal deal 50% more damage at night. 9 times out of 10, people just write the letter N. However, you can write Noc, N-O-C. That will make sense as well, and it's pretty quick and easy. Or just write N. Now, we've got Quad. People just write Q. It's easy. Nothing else starts with Q. You can just get away with it, and it makes perfect sense. Everyone knows what you mean when you write Q. It means Quad. Stalkers, no one really uses this. It's not popular at all, but if you want to abbreviate it, it is just the letter S. Sometimes people write ST because stalkers. Suppressors, sometimes this is written as S as well, but 9 times out of 10, people will write SUP, the sup. Suppressors, that makes sense. Not very popular like stalkers, so you won't really see a clash between these two. But yeah, S for stalkers and sup for suppressors, just to simplify it. Troubleshooters, 50% more damage to robots. This is almost always written as just the letter T. However, I have seen people spell out TRO for troubleshooters, TRO. Not sure why you'd do that when you can just write T, but that's also an option. Then we've got two-shot, very popular one, especially back in the day at the start of the game's life cycle. Everyone wanted two-shot and they abbreviated it to be TS. Two-shot, TS. Makes perfect sense. Then we've got vampires. This is almost always just written as V, however you can slightly write out vamp, vampires. That makes sense as well. People will know what you mean whether you write V or vamp, but V is quicker, and I'd just do that if I were you. Then we have zealots. This is just always written as Z. No other really reason to elaborate on that. It's the only thing that starts with Z for the prefix effects, so that makes perfect sense. Just write Z. Now, onto the second star effects for the ranged weapons. We have, starting here, 25% more damage while aiming. I more often than not see this written as 25A. That's probably the most popular one for sure. But ADS is also just as viable. I see that every now and again. Or you could just write aim. Either one of these 3 will work. 25A is probably the most consistent one that makes the most sense because it chucks in the number plus the A meaning aiming. So that makes the most sense to me at least. Then we've got 25% faster fire rate. This one I always see written as just 25. Like this is the go-to for things that have the number 25 in it. People want faster fire rate on their weapons most of the time. So 25 being the one to take the cake for just having the number. 25, that's probably the most common one for this abbreviation. However, FFR or 25 FFR are just as viable. However, I do see these 2 options less commonly used because the description for this effect was changed to just be 25% more weapon speed. So FFR or FR, that is also another option I see sometimes. Doesn't really make as much sense since the wording has been changed, but it's still viable. People are habitual and they're in the habit of writing FFR. That still makes sense, but just go with 25. It's most consistent and would be the easiest to get your point across. Then we've got 50% more bashing damage. 9 times out of 10, I see people write 50B. That makes the most sense for this, 50B for bashing. But you can just write out the word bash. That also will make sense and people will know exactly what you mean. Then we've got 50% more limb damage. You can just write out 50L or 50LD. That's also an option, 50LD. Or you could just write out the word limb. People will know what you mean for any 3 of those options, but 50L is probably the most common one I see out there. Then we have 50% VATS critical damage. This is almost always written as 50C, C for crit, 50 crit or crit damage. That makes the most sense. Most common one for sure, but 50V is also viable. However, I would advise against using that because that might clash with the following one. We'll get into that in a second. But yeah, 50 crit, that one makes sense right there. Just go 50C. As for 50% more VATS hit chance, this one is probably most commonly used with 50 VHC. VATS hit chance, that just makes sense. 50 VHC makes the most sense to me, and it's what I see most commonly used. However, sometimes people do write this one as just 50V, which does clash with the previous one. So to simplify it and make it the least confusing as we possibly can, just crit damage 50C and hit chance 50 VHC. However, 50H does make sense as well, and that's used as well every now and again. But then we have the explosive effect. This one will always just be written as the letter E, makes the most sense. If someone says, I want a BE, we know that's bloodied explosive. If someone wants a TSE, that's two-shot explosive. Makes perfect sense, everyone knows E means explosive, but you can write out EXP if you really want to. Last shot, this one is pretty much always written as LS, last shot LS. Makes the most sense there, however you can write last if you really want to. Just go with LS though. Then we've got the effect that replenishes 15 AP on a kill, called Inertial. Most of the time I write this as 15 AP myself, which is not commonly used on any of these sheets I have at my disposal. I think it should be referred to as 15 AP though, but just writing AP or INE for Inertial is just as viable as well if you want to do those two options. However, the third option I would say would be 15 AP. Now on to the third star effects for ranged weapons. Now it's important to note going forward for even when we get to the melee weapons that these special effects are changing. All the +1 agility, perception, endurance, strength, and they're even going to be adding intelligence and charisma and some other ones as well to the drop pool for the third star effects. Those are going to be changing to instead be buffed to +3. So all the current ones where it says +1A or just 1A or 1P for whatever it is, or 1S, should be changed to 3A and 3S and 3P, etc, etc, if you are used to writing it that way. So just keep that in mind. However, for agility, most commonly people do write just AGI or +AGI. Those are common. 1A, like I said, will be changed to 3A or +3A, however you want to write it. Same for perception. +PER is just fine. PER is just fine as well. If you are used to writing 1P or +1P, you're going to have to change it to 3P or +3P in the future. Then we have the 15% faster VATS critical fill effect. Most times this is written as 15C for critical. However, 15V for VATS is just as viable. That doesn't really clash with anything else in the third star effect list, so either or works just fine. Then we have 15% faster reload. 9 times out of 10 people write 15R. That's what I use to describe this as well. You can just use the 15 or just the R as well. Those are both acceptable options that I see out there. But just combine them to get your point across 100% of the time. No one can confuse it. 15R means 15 reload. Then the Big Daddy, 25% less VATS AP cost, the most sought after for most ranged weapons. This is always written as just 25. That's what people want. Rolls off the tongue pretty easy. If you want a B2525, that's a bloodied, faster fire rate, less VATS cost roll. People know what that means. Just use 25, it's quick and easy, and people know what it means. For the third star effect, that means less VATS cost. However, you can use 25 AP or 25 25V, sorry. That makes sense as well. People will know what you mean, but 25 just rolls off the tongue. It's much better. Then we have 250 DR while reloading. This is almost always just written as 250 DR or 250. Both work. You're not going to mistake that for anything else. 250 DR just seems more prim and proper though, so I'd use that. 50 DR, not very popular either. Like, that one's not very popular. You don't see these traded too often, but if they are, this is how you should abbreviate them. 50 DR, damage resistance, it just makes sense. 50 DR, perfect. Makes sense, you can't mistake that for anything else. The 90% reduced weight effect, I almost always use the 90RW abbreviation myself, just so no one gets confused. But just writing 90 or just RW is also perfectly acceptable. I like to combine the two though, that's just me. But yeah, you can just write 90, people know what it means. As for the brakes 50% slower effect, this can be written as DUR, 50 DUR, or 50B. 50B is going to work fine here because in the second star, the only thing it would clash with is this one, but that's in a different star slot, so people should not get confused. But just in case people might get confused with those two, just go with DUR. That's the most common one, and it's easy, set it apart from everything else, so you can avoid anything going on there like that. Then we have the Ghost effect, 10% chance to generate a stealth field. I mostly see this as G, or I've seen people write 10G, or just SF, stealth field for SF. That makes sense as well. Any three of those options would do just fine. Now, movement speed while aiming. No one likes this effect, but just in case you're thinking about trading one, write it down as MSWA, movement speed while aiming, MSWA. Or you can write MS, but that is going to clash with the Mutant Slayer's effect over here. And just, no one should confuse those two, but you never know, people are silly. So just write MSWA and you'll get the most straightforward abbreviations throughout all of these. Alright, so those were all the ranged weapons. Now let's move on to the melee. So the first star effects for the melee is the exact same as it was in the range, so I'm not going to go over all of that again. There's no first star effects that can go on range that melee can't also have. So we've covered that. Awesome. As for secondary effects, we have some unique ones that we didn't cover that can only go on melee. So let's go over that. 25 damage while standing still. This is almost always just written as 25 if you're talking about melee weapons. However, if you think that is a little bit confusing, there are a few other lists that show people do write 25D for damage, or you can just write the word still. Still will work just fine. I don't see this effect too commonly traded. People don't really want it anyway. But if you see it out there and you're confusing this with faster fire rate, then write 25D. That will set it apart. Then we have 40% more power attack damage. Easy, 40p, 40pa, or just PA. I think I most commonly say 40pa myself, but either three of these will work just fine. People should know what you mean. There's nothing else out there with the number 40 and a P or a PA out there, so yeah, sets it apart. Then we have 40% swing speed. This is always written as just SS. Everyone knows swing speed is SS. However, just like the faster fire rate, the wording has changed. This no longer says swing speed in game, now it says weapon speed. So WS is starting to become more common. I see that rising a bit. However, what will never change is 40S, 40 speed, basically that is what that means. 40 SS and SS probably will be phased out eventually because newer players will see SS and be like, what the fuck? How does that work? It's not written like that in game anymore. So yeah, just 40S is probably going to be the best one to go, but all of us veterans, all of us players that have been here for a long time, we see SS and we know what that means. We habitually write SS because we have that ingrained in us right now. I'm guilty of it too. From there we have 50% VATS critical damage. That was already covered before, 50C or 50V. Same with limb damage, you can just write 50L or limb. As for reflect 50% damage while blocking, 50B or 50R work just fine. However, this is not a commonly requested effect. People don't really want this effect, so I'm not too sure what's the most popular here. And replenish, we've already covered that as well in the range section. But as for the third star effects, we also covered the special effects here, like agility, strength, endurance, perception, all of those things. They're also going to be introducing intelligence and charisma, so just keep an eye out for that. The trend will probably be the same, where the most common one will be the number and then the letter. Just keep in mind that in the future, people will have to change that to 3 letter, 3 letter, 3 letter. So for endurance, it will probably be plus 3E, strength plus 3S, so on and so forth. Or you could just, these will never change. You could just write out the abbreviation for the special itself, like END means endurance, STR means strength, AGI means agility, so on and so forth. This will be pretty easy to adapt to, but just want to make that known for you guys. We have also already covered 15% critical fill in the previous section, as well as less VATS cost and 90% reduced weight and break slower. So those were already covered in the ranged weapons section, which just leaves 15% less damage while blocking, which people typically write block or 15B. These are both very viable, you can use either one interchangeably. As for 40% less damage while pair attacking, 40p does kind of clash with 40p up here. But, you know, you could say to people, yeah, I'm looking for a B 40p 40p, and people should know that means bloodied pair attack, 40% less damage while pair attacking. But just in case people don't know, just go with 40. Alright, and now on to the armor and pair armor effects. Let's get started with the primary first star effects. Just a side note, pretty much all of these that are also a first star effect for the weapons are going to be the exact same, so I'm going to just mention that they're the same and then skip them. So we've got aristocrats, that's the same as the weapon, ARI, assassins, same as the weapon. We've got auto stim. This is pretty much always referred to as AS for auto stim, not to be confused with AS for assassins. If people do confuse those two, just go with auto. Bolstering, this is pretty much always referred to as bol, but just B works just fine. Chameleon, always refer to that as CH or CHA, both work just fine. CH is a bit quicker though. Cloaking, I always refer to this as CL. Don't see it like being chased to or highly sought after, but you know, CL or cloak work just fine. Exterminators, ghoul slayers, hunters, MS, mutant, all the exact same as the weapon. Life saving, we will write LS for that. Pretty simple. Everyone should know life saving is LS, or you could just write life. Nocturnal is also the same as the weapon there, N or NOC. Now, Overeaters, this is one of the new effects that have been added recently that is actually pretty sought after. Pretty rare for Bethesda to add a good effect in. You will see people write this as O every now and again, however the most common one is OE, Overeaters, OE. That just makes the most sense, it's common, everyone should just use that. Regenerating, not many people really even want this. I don't recall seeing any of these really used, but if I was to use it, I would probably write REG just to really get that point across that it is regenerating. Can't be confused with anything else. Then just quickly, we have troubleshooters and zealots. They're the same as the weapons, just T and Z. Uni, unyielding. This is obviously a very sought after effect. Everyone wants this for their low health builds. Everyone should know that UNY means unyielding. You can't really get that wrong or confused. Then we've got vanguards. I think I typically see people writing this as V more times than VAN, but you know, both work. I would just probably, myself, I would write VAN just to not get it confused with anything else that any idiot can possibly confuse it with. Then we have weightless. That is a little bit different to the weightless effect for the weapons. For the armor, it's typically referred to as just W or WEI. However, I have seen some people refer to it as 90 as well, or 90 W, but not too, this effect isn't really that sought out, so either one of those will work, and if someone's confused, just tell them what you mean. W, WEI, or 90W. Now onto the secondary star effects. You already know what I'm going to say for all of these special effects. They are a bit different for the armor though. As of right now on the PTS, they are being buffed to +2 instead of +1 or +3 like the weapon version. So keep that in mind. If you are going to be using any of these or trading for any of these effects in the future, I would change the abbreviations to be, 2A for agility, 2C for charisma, 2I for intelligence, so on and so forth. You get where I'm going with that, or you could just abbreviate it exactly like it is right here. AGI means agility, CHA means charisma, so on and so forth, all the way to strength. So yeah, can't really get that wrong, it's pretty easy to adapt with. Then we have the 10% slower hunger effect. This is mostly, I've seen people refer to it as 10HT, so hunger, HT, thirst, makes perfect sense there. 10HT is probably the go-to, however HT or just 10 would work just as well. There's nothing else in the secondary armor effect list that would be, conflicting with that. Then we've got 25 more cryo resistance, 25C or just CR. I most commonly myself refer to it as just CR. That makes sense, cryo resistance. Don't really need the number there. However, you can also write 25CR to really get your point across as to what it is. That will make perfect sense as well. Similarly, we have environmental disease resist. I would write 25D for this one. That makes perfect sense as well. However, you can write EDR, environmental disease resistance, but 25D or maybe even 25 EDR, that could be a third option. Any three of those would work just fine, but 25D appears to be the most common. Then pretty similarly to the cryo one, the fire resistance, we have 25F or FR. I myself always write this as 25FR to really get my point across. Same with radiation, we've got 25R or RR, but you can just write 25RR, that works just as well. For poison, same thing, 25P or PR or 25PR. All of them just work the same, you can, mix and match. Myself, I always do 25CR, 25FR, 25RR, or 25PR, just to really get my point across with which one I'm talking about. Then for the 7% explosive damage reduction effect, most commonly I see people refer to this as some variation of EXP7 or E7. However, you can just do 7 or just EXP or just E. Any of those variations will work just fine. People should know what you're talking about. Then finally for the second star, we have increased AP refresh. This is always just written as AP, that's just what everyone does, so there shouldn't be any variations there. AP means increased AP refresh. Now onto the third star effects, we have 15% less damage while blocking, same as for the weapon, that's 15B. Reduced limb damage, same as for the weapon version, that's 15L or limb. 20% ammo weight reduction, this is always written as AWR, or you can be cheeky and do 20 AWR as well. People will know what you mean. Food, drink, chem weight reduction. This is always written as FDCWR, or 20 FDCWR will work as well. People know what you mean there. I never really see anyone write AWR, but that is an option. Then the less weight reduction for junk. People write JWR, but 20 JWR works just as fine, as I'm seeing from another list. And same with weapon weight reduction. People always write WWR, but 20 WWR will work just as fine. For these things, it doesn't really matter if you include the 20, people should know what you mean. Next, we have a group of effects, the 5% chance for cryo, energy, fire, and poison damage. All of these follow the exact same trends. You can either write it as 100, and then the letter that denotes the damage type, 100C for cryo, 100E for energy, etc, etc. Or you can do 5, and then the letter. So people should know what either of these mean, and if they're really stupid and they don't think they'll know what they mean, then you could just write it out and spell it out. Cryo, energy, fire, and poison. There's no getting it mixed up there. However, myself, I do see the 100 cryo, 100 energy, 100 fire, 100 poison. I see these written most commonly, and people do know what they mean. So yeah, just write those ones. We'll try and make that the trend. 100C, 100E, 100F, and 100P. Then we have the doctor's effect. This is pretty much just always written as doc. You can't mistake that for anything. Yeah, just use doc for this effect. Next we have acrobats, or 50% reduced fall damage. I have seen this written more commonly as acro. However, 50F or 50FD or 50RFD, all three of those are written as well. But it's not a really commonly sought after effect, so just use whatever, and if people don't know, then you can explain it. Then we've got Cavaliers and Sentinels. I'll do these at the same time because they're pretty much the same thing, just inverses of each other. Cavalier is always written as Cav, and Sentinels is always written as Sent. You can't really mistake those. These are two very sought after effects. People always want these two, especially Sent. That's probably the most popular one. And people just know what you mean when you write Sent and when you write Cav. There's no other really abbreviations that people use for those. Then we've got the break slower effect. We covered this in the weapons section. Just use JUR or 50B or 50DUR. Then we've got the harder to detect while sneaking effect. Most of the time people do write sneak. However, some other lists do denote that people do write HTD, harder to detect. That's probably just as viable, but just go with sneak if you're unsure, if you don't know what it means. Then we've got the Safecrackers effect, increase the sweet spot while lockpicking. no one wants this, but just in case, I don't know, write lock, lockpick, or safe. I don't care about this one. Personally, I don't give a rat's ass what people write for this one. Then we've got dissipating. This is a terrible effect for most players out there, since a lot of the players are bloodied. And if you are a full health build, you should have no reason to put this on, because it's taking a slot that you could use for something else more valuable, like sentinels or a weight reduction effect. But anyway, disappointing is dis. Yeah, let's go with that. And then finally we have divers, the underwater breathing effect. Also, terribly unsought after. No one cares about that effect. If you're wanting to abbreviate it, don't bother. Or just write these two. Either one of those three options. Quickly before we end off the video, I just want to talk about what all of these mean when you combine them all, and how you put that from thought to paper or text when you're trying to trade with other players in the community. So, for example, this is just the format everyone typically uses when they do it. The first star is the format that you put in the text first, then the second star is the next part, and then the third star is the next part. So you write it in order of the stars. So if you, for whatever reason, wanted a furious, faster fire rate, 250 DR while reloading handmade rifle, you would make a post and say, okay, I'm looking for an F 25 250 DR handmade rifle. That would be the generalized way to do that specific post. Another example is maybe you want a really nice medic's weapon. So you would write, I want a MED, 50 VATS hit chance, so VHC, and then let's say less VATS, so 25. You'd write MED 50 VHC 25, and then say whatever weapon it would be. Let's just say it would be a combat shotgun. So you would write that down. So that's how that would go. For armor, the same thing goes. Your first star would be what you start with, second star, and then third star would be followed up. So let's say you are looking for a very specific piece of armor. For whatever reason, you want a heavy leather left leg, and you want the very specific roles of bolstering, cryo resistance, and less weapon weight reduction. So you would write it exactly like that. I would want a heavy leather left arm, bowl, and then 25C, and then you'd write WWR, and just put it literally in order like that. That's how that would go. So yeah, I hope that little explanation makes sense. Just put what you see in this video to what you see on Reddit, Discord, or the Facebook trading communities, and hopefully you'll be able to marry it up and make sense of what people are talking about. Alright, and there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those were all of the abbreviations for all of the weapons. That took forever. It's going to be a long video. I appreciate the hell out of you if you have stuck around and watched the whole thing. I hope you've learned something. These are the most commonly used abbreviations within the trading community, within the circles. Obviously, if you speak another language, the abbreviations are going to be different for your language most of the time, I think. And obviously, there might be some variations to these abbreviations that I might have missed out or left out because I forgot about them, or what the case may be. There's a whole lot of different ways that people talk about these effects, and I've been looking at 3 lists and trying to put them all together to find the most popular ones for you guys. So yeah, I hope I've done that here for you guys today, and like I said, I hope you learned something new. Hopefully this video teaches you guys the abbreviations that you wanted to learn. If you would like more of the community to become in the know for these sort of things, these niche trading things that most people don't know about, then be sure to share the video and get the word out there. Alternatively, you can just go into the description and look at the links to the lists themselves and just share those around. If you don't want to share my stupid fucking voice, you can share the lists themselves around. Anyway, guys, that's been me. I've been Tia. I hope you enjoyed, and let's cue the outro. That's going to do it for me. A massive shout out to all of my channel members. You're all legends, and thank you for your continued support on the channel. If you like what I do here and you'd like to support me further, then consider becoming a member or check out my merch store. We've got a lot of great designs and benefits, so be sure to check that out in the description. And while you're down there, chuck me a follow on my other social medias and join my Discord. Subscribe if you're new and like the video if you've enjoyed. I've been Tia, and I'll catch us in the next one. Welcome to Valhalla.